leading to insight and insight leading to ethical behavior. Do you think that that might outweigh the idea of soldiers just meditating to kill better?
Yeah, I think that actually, yes, even meditation itself is subversive because there's these systems that might misuse them. Because yes, there's a kind of purification of consciousness. And as our consciousness becomes more pure, then yes, ethics becomes automatic. And so yes, indeed it is. But I think that historically there's a danger there. There's really a danger there, and so it's and understand that, so I would love to see somebody from the philosophy department at the University of Arizona who works specifically in ethics to be working with AMRIG.
We had one of those, but you graduated.
Oh, find another. Go out and recruit. Please, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Oh yes, Eric. I wanted to ask you because you're talking about there is no separation among all of us, this whole planet. And then you also said, the exercise of your hands. You said, and your hands are not your hands. So that feels like a separation. And
Yeah.
I understand intellectually what you mean,
right.
But I wanted to have some more.
Yeah, I think that it's a huge subject. So I'm just going to give you the telegraph form. But essentially what the Buddha said was you can look at all of the components that make up what we call the self. And if you take each component, it's a kind of deconstructive and analytical process, but you're not analyzing with your brain, you're analyzing with very, very deep observation. If you take each of the elements and look really, really closely at it, you will discover that there's no self there. So we say this body is me and mine. It's just physical elements. It's just a body. So and you look at the thought process and you say they're my thoughts. But if you really look at them carefully, how much control do you have over them? Where do they come from? Where do they go? One of my teachers said that your thoughts are coming from the person sitting behind you. Actually, as you observe very, very closely, you come to see absolutely clearly that thoughts are only thoughts. And you can do the same thing with emotions. The fear that you quote unquote feel and the fear that I quote unquote feel is exactly the same fear. It's an impersonal quality that manifests in consciousness. You can go right down the list, and what tends to happen is that we tend to think, well, maybe the body isn't self, and maybe the thoughts aren't self, and maybe the emotions aren't self, but that which is witnessing has to be self. That which knows is self. And then at some point, and it can happen automatically actually in the practice, or we can be trained to do it, awareness begins to be aware of awareness. Awareness turns on itself. And you come to see that awareness is only an impersonal quality. So it isn't actually about separation. All of it's here, it's just that it doesn't belong to anyone. And the Buddha used the metaphor of a cart. We could use the metaphor of a car. You take a car completely apart and you hold up a part and you say, is this a car? No, that's a steering wheel. You hold up another part. Is this a car? No, it's a lug nut. You hold up another part. This is a crankshaft. And then so none of those parts is car, but then we put it all together and somehow or other it becomes car. It's only a concept. So it isn't actually, I know you're a psychologist and I know you think I'm talking about dissociative disorder. but the difference between the wisdom of knowing that there's no self and dissociative disorder is that the wisdom of knowing that there's no separate self brings amazing happiness and skillfulness. And a disorder brings suffering. That's the distinction. So they may look similar, but they don't manifest the same. So please.
I have a question going back to Tucker's point. You mentioned that mindfulness exercise with samurais could be trained to kill other people.
With equanimity, yes.
With equanimity.
Yeah.
What do you think about loving kindness meditation incorporated with mindfulness meditation? Can that lead to what you're talking about? More
Yes.
people?
Yes, actually, and it's been really interesting to observe just in my own career as a meditator, because I sort of came into doing meditation in my particular tradition, Western Vipassana, near the beginning of when it was really brought from Asia. And originally we were just interested in meditation and getting enlightened. I don't even use that word, because it's so confusing, but waking up. And so we were doing mindfulness. We were very, very disciplined. And one of the Asian teachers came and said, I shared this with a retreat we just had. He said, oh, you guys are working so hard and you're doing such a wonderful job and you have more energy than most Asians and this is beautiful. But, he said, it's like rowing really hard while your boat is tied to the dock. And he said, you've got to bring in ethical conduct. Well, we're not interested in ethical conduct. We're interested in enlightenment. And it was very clear. The teachings there's a whole teaching that includes ethical conduct. And we began to see, oh yeah, there's a value in that. We really emphasized ethical conduct. And then at some point we realized, this is a really cool, dry, sometimes harsh tradition because it's all about wisdom. And wisdom can be dry and harsh. We need more heart here. So then we all started discovering loving kindness and compassion and sympathetic joy and all the juicy stuff. And we started really doing those practices. I did those practices for, day after day for months and months to open the heart. And so you're right. And then there's the warmth and the connection of love and compassion along with the cool, dry, detached kind of wisdom. And they balance each other. The Tibetans say that the Dharma is like a bird with two wings. Unless you have both wisdom and love and compassion, the bird can't fly. So you're right. I think it's really important also to have the heart qualities. And it was really interesting for me, just personally, because I had 25 years of schooling. I went through the PhD. And never once in those 25 years, and I was in good schools, never once in those 25 years did someone tell me how to be happy. All of the important things got left out of my education. And I realized I have a highly trained mind and a really stupid heart.